And I realized, oh my God, Ann, if I start serving people, I'll get my abundance that I want. But how fun it would be to give people gifts, the resources, tips, intros. And from then on, and this is so powerful for the audience. You need to learn this because it's worked for me. I took that large network from the health club and we sold in 2000. And then one of the members, again, I didn't have a job, didn't have a resume because I worked for my family. So I didn't know what I was going to do. And he says, Jim was his name. He says, Steve, why don't you come work at my restaurant?
Welcome to the Expert in You podcast, the show for professional entrepreneurs, experts, authors, speakers, coaches, and consultants who are ready to elevate their business, expand their influence, and boost their bank accounts. Join us as we dive deep with industry-leading experts who share their top strategies, invaluable insights, practical tips, and personal experiences to help you achieve extraordinary growth and success. Whether you're looking to sharpen your skills, stay ahead of the curve, or find that competitive edge, this podcast is your ultimate resource for unlocking your full potential. So tune in, get inspired, grab your coffee, and let's unlock the expert in you. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Expert in You podcast. I'm your host, Carden. And wow, do I have a guest for you today. I am so excited to interview Steve Ramona. Steve, hey, thanks for being here. I'm super excited to have you here.
And thank you so much for having me on. This is a blessing.
Oh, we're going to have a blast. So Steve is a rock star. I have to tell you, he is, first of all, he's doing so many great things. I met Steve because I was on his podcast and he has the #1 ranked small business marketing podcast. And I think that's amazing. And he's doing business with the servant's heart, and we're going to dive into that. But Steve is a super connector. And this is what we're really going to talk about today. We're going to talk about he specializes in building partnership through his personalized introductions and connections. And I have to tell you, he's walking the talk. And so we are going to dive into so many great things he's accomplished and what he's doing and how he's connecting. And this will give you an idea at the level that he's playing. Steve actually is running a mastermind membership with over 55 millionaires and billionaires. So if that doesn't tell you something. So Steve, I'm just so excited to have you on here and get to connect with you again. And it's taken us a while. We had some tech issues a couple of weeks ago. So super excited we got all of this worked out. So all right, let's dive in. Nobody wants to sit here and hear me talk. All right, now I can take off my readers.
And I want to hear you talk, but let's do this show. I love hearing you talk.
All right, so Steve, just tell everyone sort of how you got into being Super Connector. And by the way, I just love the brand. I love the name. I think it's great. So how did you get into all of this?
And thank you for the kind words, and thank you for saying that. It took me a while to embrace that super connector, and I've added promoter, and I'll talk about that later. Promoter, super connector. It started at 18 years old, graduated from high school, is going to jump into community college football. And as a senior getting out of high school, you need a job for money, so you can go out and have fun. So my family had started a health club, so they asked me to come to work the front desk. And I did, and I started meeting these very successful people, 40, 50, 60-year-olds that were not my peers, but people I was scared to talk to at the beginning.
Steve, how did you get into all of this? I would love to hear your story.
Yeah, it started at 18, and you graduate from high school. I was going to jump and play community college football. So I had the summer to have fun. Well, to have fun, you need money. And this is 1979. And my family had started a health club. My dad was an investor, and my cousin Jeff was the president. So Jeff said, hey, why don't you come work for us at the front desk? You make some money. What I learned as I worked at the front desk, I had these 40, 50, 60-year-old men and women coming in, very successful and not so successful, but just meeting people organically. Hey, have a great workout. Hey, enjoy your day. It became, hey, did your daughter have that grandson that you were hoping for? How was your trip to Greece? What was I doing? I didn't realize that I was building relationships. And eventually I got this quote from somebody. They said, if you got married, you'd have to reserve one of the NFL stadiums because so many people. Because I'd go out to dinner and, hey, there's Steve from the health club. There's Steve. Because, again, building relationships. Mm-hmm. One story that was really powerful was Tony was a financial advisor. He came in, we became friends, we've gone to lunch. He threw me a book and it said The Wealthy Barber. And it's still out today. And he says, I'm coming back next week, kid. And I'm going to ask you one question. You better have an answer for me. He was teasing a little bit, but he was serious. And this guy worked with very successful people. So that Tuesday comes around. He came in and goes, hey, give me the book back, because he shares with everybody. He says, what'd you learn? I said, take 10% of my income and stuff it and put it away and don't look at it. He goes, you got it, kid. Kudos to you. He went off to his workout. Time went by. He finally left the club, retired. 10 years later, was 28 years old. And I looked at the account, Ann. Oh my God, there was $68,000 in it.
Oh my goodness.
Now, audience,
That's
keep
great
in mind.
for a kid.
Oh my God, $5 an hour. That's what I was making, $4.50. Well, it worked because it compounds and people, people know that that's the way it works. Well, here's what I really learned. So I called him and I said, hey, I want to tell you what happened. I just looked at it. He goes, kid, thanks for listening. I said, let me give you $1,000 because that was your business. He goes, one, I'm retired. But he said, two, what I learned over my years is when I serve people like I served you, my universe changed. People came into my life because of that universe. He says, I'm not going to take any money from you, but pay it forward. And I realized, oh my God, Ann, if I start serving people, I'll get my abundance that I want. But how fun it would be to give people gifts, the resources, tips, intros. And from then on, and this is so powerful for the audience. You need to learn this because it's worked for me. I took that large network from the health club and we sold in 2000. And then when the members, again, I didn't have a job, didn't have a resume because I worked for my family. So I didn't know what I was going to do. And he says, Jim was his name. He says, Steve, why don't you come work at my restaurant? I said, I know nothing about that. I'll teach you. Don't worry about it. I'm like, okay. Made the decision to do it. Didn't want to do it. I was scared because I didn't know what I was going to do. I had to shuck oysters and learn all this. But what I realized when I started working at the restaurant, I reached out to that network from the health club. Within 6 months, we were in the top restaurants on the street. We were packed.
Oh, that's awesome.
Because build that relationship network. And so I've been taking networks, building it, and every opportunity I have, I've been sharing it with people. Now it's specific people that would fit.
Oh,
That
I love it.
one job changed my life.
So powerful. And it really does happen that way. I mean, when I think about it, almost all of my businesses started the same way. It was from a network. Like when I started my business, oh gosh, I don't know, 30 years ago or whatever, I reached out to moms that I knew from my kids' school to see if they wanted to come take fitness classes with me so many years ago. And that's how that business actually got off the ground. And then, over years, it turned into something very large. It turned into 4 more businesses and, that I sold and all of that. But it all started because I, leveraged the relationships that I already had. And my coaching was the same way. I stepped into the people that I already knew from being out there networking and said, hey, I think I want to be a business coach, but not sure if I know, if I can transfer my skills. And I'd love to work with you and see. And that's how it all began. That was 15 years ago. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing. And here's $1 million tip for the audience. What I tell people all the time, the lowest hanging fruit for our leads is our family and friends, our contact list. I reached out to my contact list and I added 4,000 people to my newsletter within a week.
Oh, wow. This is gold, everyone. Are you taking notes? This is absolute gold. Yeah, our phone now is, this is like, can be worth millions of dollars. If you think about that. Yes, I love it. So good. So good. That was a big one.
Yeah, most people don't, because I did some interviews the last 2 years. 80% of the people, of the 100 people I asked, 80 of them said, my friends and family don't know what I do. Most of them. And we don't think, why not go there? Because you know what? They care and love us.
Yeah.
They're going to be more apt to go, hey, let me help you. So here's how you do it. It's super simple. Go to your contact list, pick Debbie Smith, send her an email that says, quick question on the subject. Hey, Debbie, do you know any people in the trades? I'd love to support them. I'd love to help them. Can you give me an intro?
Yeah.
Quick email. 3 things happen. 1, they give you a bunch of intros. They ask, what are you doing now? So now you can tell them what you do on a call. Or 3, nothing happens. That's okay. Next. In my head,
Right.
I just go next. Nothing bad about that because you can't help everybody. But you start there. It's powerful. I talked to a gentleman who's 27 years old 3 years ago. He only marketed through his contact list. The day I talked to him, he had $1 million a month in income.
That's awesome. Wow. I love
So it
it.
works.
It is super powerful. And we know too that especially in the world that we're in today, people are going to buy from people they know, like, and trust. And that's nothing new, right? But it really is powerful when when you have the fundamental pieces in place in your business, and then you know exactly who you want to get connected to and how to really reach through other people or get through other people and then be able to find those people. So it's super, super powerful. But I love that you're coming from it from a servant's heart. You're connecting people with that servant's heart to give value. We all try to do that. That's why we do our business, because we care about people and we want to help them and make a difference in the world, right? So, but
Yes.
you've actually turned this into like a business. So that's super valuable. So talk about that. How did you go from all of that to actually turning it into a business?
Realizing first the power of the network took me many years. It took
Mm-hmm.
me, 18 to, so I was about 48, probably 30, 35 years later to go,
Mm-hmm.
hey, I've got this network. Because I was serving, I call this serving before selling
Mm-hmm.
all the time. So I start doing that. And I tell people all the time, be transformational, not
Mm-hmm.
transactional.
Right.
And I could tell you the last 18 months, every person that I've met, I'm transformational. Now, it may turn into transactional during the
Mm-hmm.
conversation or down the road or an email. But here's the image I want people to see. Christmas, you're 7 years old, Christmas morning, you wake up earlier than you ever wake up because there's gifts under the tree. So you get up at 6 or 7 before your parents, you run to the tree, you open that gift, and you're super excited. You got a bike. But what has that 7-year-old done? In probably their school, they've made a gift for their parents. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
it's a picture. It's the gift exchange. And every time you serve and I serve, I'm giving gifts out to people. What does the universe say? Or in my case, God's currency, it will come back to you. The problem people don't realize, and what's hard for them, is they don't know how, when, or where that's
Mm-hmm.
coming back. You just got to have faith and hope, because I do, and I know it's happened, that will happen. But it's so much fun to get done with a call and somebody go, that's one of the best calls I've been on. We
Mm-hmm.
never talked money one time. We talked about how we could support each other. Here's the other thing that's super important. It's a networking tip that people miss out a lot of the time. I have a principle called the ASLA principle. I know it's a funny name. It's ASLA. Ask, shut up, listen, and ask. And the example would be, hey, Ann, what's your challenges for your business today? You come back, go, well, I need more people.
Mm-hmm.
I was listening. I shut up and listened. You need more people. I go, how about 2 introductions? How about these 2 people? I think they'd be a great fit. Because I shut up and listened and understood what you're looking for, what your need is, what your desire is, what will support you, what will eventually serve you.
Mm-hmm.
It's easy because people look at me, this superpower, like, how can you pop off referrals so fast? Because I ask, shut up, and listen. And then maybe the last ask is another question. Okay, you have challenges. Where are you getting your leads now? Oh, I'm doing this, this, and this. Hey, have you thought about going to LinkedIn here and doing this?
Mm-hmm.
Am I charging for any of this information that I have?
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely not. And I get some controversy. People are like, oh, don't give your stuff away free. I believe in doing everything. And I do a free workshop for podcasting. I do a free business mentoring workshop
Mm-hmm.
twice a month. And I'm more successful than I have been in 63 years. So it doesn't affect your abundance or your success.
Yeah.
It actually uplifts it.
Well, and here's the other thing people need to know. And I hear people say a lot, well, if you are helping people with that and you're doing it for free, what would make them buy from you? Well, the truth is that's only a small piece. And we know execution is the hardest thing for people. So even though they get the concept or you gave them the idea, have you done this? It's only one little thing. It's not going to fix all of their problems. It's not going to be the whole thing. So, but people want to know that they can trust you if they're going to, and I'm not saying in that situation But for me, I do a lot of free workshops, master classes, things like that. People will come out of those workshops and say, I mean, I can't even believe you didn't charge thousands of dollars for that. The way you give, the way you gave, the way you served the people in there. I think part of this, first of all, I love what I do. You love what you do. And so it's a natural thing for us to want to give that. But there is a balance, right? There has to be a point where you are monetizing. And I see people give, and they're not monetizing. But there's a natural thing that happens when people really now trust you. They believe you. You've served them in a way, and really, even if you make an offer at the end and you do it in the right way, they still feel served. They don't feel, they don't feel like, oh, they taken advantage of. They actually are excited to hear, wow, what would be next with you, Ann? What if I got this and you did not charge me and you gave and gave and gave, what would the next thing be with you? And so that's really how it happens and how it works. And people are afraid to do that. They're afraid to give too much.
Well, and you nailed it, Ann. You're so incredible. I love your attitude, because that was the ask was my missing piece. An audience, again, $1 million tip. For years, I never asked. I'm like, Ann, here's 2 referrals. Enjoy it. And I met a guy.
Then it's like hope marketing.
Hope marketing, but even worse, what I was doing is turning you into a taker. Now, it's not conscious. You don't walk away and go, oh, Steve's such a bad person. But your subconscious is like, I just got gifts from Steve. I want to reciprocate that. The law of reciprocation. I stopped. And I met with a guy who made 270 million in sales the year before. He said, Steve, stop what you're doing. I'm like, I just met this guy. I'm like, well, let's think about it. Just like I said, you're giving these gifts away and you're saying no to them. Universe says, nah, no gifts for Steve. Once I started asking, end of 2022, when I started my podcast, my business, my network blew up. So that's how you do it. If you're asking that question, like give. Well, when you give a gift to someone, you ask, hey, I'm a coach. I hear these problems in your business. I'd love to work with you. That's all you got to say. They're more apt to go, hey, can I learn more? Let's see if there's a fit. Then pitching them, go, hey, Steve, you need my business. I'm Coach Ann, and I can change your whole life, and you need me. That's the sales of old school. That's gone.
Right.
Bring that ask into it, because when I bring value, I have no problem getting abundance and asking. Because here's the thing about abundance and mindset. I just talked to a lady yesterday. She's like, I'm afraid to ask for high prices. I said, right away, do you bring value? She goes, absolutely. I can help everybody. Charge that price, because if somebody says no, next, I don't say that out loud, but in my head, I go next.
Yeah.
That's it took me a while to get, but I do that all the time now. Here's another thing. When you're talking to somebody about your business and you give them pricing and they say, I'm not ready yet, I got to talk to my wife. So it's essentially a no. This is the biggest tip I've ever done. I bring them more value.
Yes.
Because how many times
you nurture them. 100%.
Because I've talked to people, and it's amazing what I hear. Like, what'd you feel when you said no to me? I was scared. I was like, oh my God, he's going to be mad at me. He's going to be upset, because people are so worse at being pitched. When I brought them more resources, they're like, oh my God. And I had a coach do that. A month later, somebody came back. Instead of signing up with the other coach they were going to sign up with, they signed up with her, because she kept bringing value after the no. Huge thing.
No, so important. Really, that's the follow-up piece of it. And a lot of people are definitely missing that in their business. So there are 2 things that I really want to hit on, because we brought them up already, but let's dive a little deeper. One of the things you said is really you weren't making an offer. You weren't asking. Making an offer is asking. It's moving people into becoming a buyer, because we're all still in business. We're not just doing this for our health, right? As much as I love giving, as much as I love doing what I do, I have such a heart for it. And I know it changes people's lives. And I know you do too. We are still in business, right? And so we have to I always say, we have to still keep our eye on the revenue ball, so that you've got to make sure gaps are closed. You've got to make sure you've got follow-up systems that you nurture. You have ways that you stay in front of people, you nurture them, you give them value. It's not uncommon for me to get off of a call with someone and say, this isn't the right time for you to work with me, but here's some free resources I have that I believe will really help you. And then when it is the right time, you can come back and we can have that conversation again. And then I keep them in my ecosystem. And I've had people that have followed me for 3 years, and then all of a sudden, for whatever reason, their kids went to school or their kids went to college, and now they're ready to explode their business, and now they reach back out. So this is all part of the strategy, to turn all of this effort and work that you're doing into something. So I like that you said, I wasn't asking. You do have to ask, everyone. You do. You have to make offers. Otherwise, I just think Steve's a good old guy. And, he loves to connect people. And, he has a great podcast. But if I don't know what Steve really does or sells, how can I possibly buy from him?
Or refer people to me. That's the other side
people.
of it.
That's the
if
other
they're not
piece.
a fit referral, And let me ask this question, and this is what I want, because when I talk to people, like, I can't do it. I'm expensive. I've got expenses. I got all this going on. I've got family. I got to support. Yeah. And we all have that. But all the giving you do, all the serving that you do, are you bankrupt? Are you homeless? Are you unsuccessful?
And it's easy. You can do it. Yes. That's easy for people to do. Yes.
Yes. Yeah. It's you will not. That's a mindset thing too. A lot of people that are, it's your mindset.
You've got gaps. You've got missing pieces. If that's the case, you're giving, and it's not coming back to you. You've got gaps, business gaps. And there's a difference. It works.
Yes, huge.
You can't take your passion to the bank, just FYI, or make your house payment or buy a car with your passion. It's just, unless there's some money exchange there. And really serving, here's the thing, and I know you probably found this out. I found this out too. If people don't pay for things, they don't value things. So if you're really going to give people a transformation in whatever you do, that's what I do, right? I transform their business and potentially their wealth and their family and all of that. If you are giving people a transformation, or if you are wanting to truly transform people and their lives, or whatever it is you do, if they are not paying you to go, you can only help them so much, first of all. But second, you can't go as deep as you need to go with them, because eventually, right, you'll burn out. You can't do that. But the other piece of that is they really, truly won't value it.
It won't succeed.
They won't. I just lived this for years and years and years. Steve, when I owned those health clubs, I also owned weight loss centers. And I will tell you, when we would give away a free weight loss program or a free gym membership or a free personal training membership, guess what? People never used it. And yet people would come in and pay thousands of dollars to get that, right? And so it's just it's a clear example of what I'm talking about. Now people would sign up for the free stuff. So it told me they probably wanted it, right? Or why would you sign up for a free weight loss membership or a free personal trainer? But then to not even use it, or they'd come in, they'd use it a little bit, but then it got hard. And then, they didn't value what other people were paying a lot of money to do. And I found that out, all those years ago. But then I also found that out when I got into the coaching space. And a lot of the strategies I was taught in the very beginning were very much like that. Give. And it was great, except that I was the one staying broke. And so a good example, work with your clients for free until they start getting results, and then you can get paid. Or bring them in really low ticket. And then when you start getting them results, then you can ramp up your fees. Neither of those strategies worked, because if they had no skin in the game, guess who wanted their success more than me?
Yeah.
I mean, more than they did. I wanted their success more than they did. So
it's crazy.
We could talk about this all day.
Oh, and me too. And real quick, in the health club industry, back in the day, 24 hours now closed, but we charge $40, $50 a month. They charge like 15. So it's almost free. And there's gyms out there now, $10. Well, they'd have, because I talked to the owners of those gyms, 15,000 members only 1,000 used it. So 14,000 people were paying $15 a month. You can run those numbers. That's like free. And they never used it. And they banked on that, which we weren't really big fans on. I'm sorry to, but it is what it was, because you couldn't put 14,000 people, if you have 14,000
you could
members,
never put that many people in a club. No,
Never.
no, 100%.
Never.
Yeah.
Never.
No,
So
that's
you're right.
true. But that's why, I also really believe, I've always had a premium business. So I've always really believed in premium, not volume. And that's how, even my business today, that's what it is. It's premium, not volume. Why? People are more committed. When they're paying more, they're getting better results. When they're easier to work with, they're committed. I mean, we could go over those things all day long. And I'm not about just taking someone's money. You're not about just taking someone's money. Like, this is what you're talking about when you talk about a servant's heart. I have to tell you, so this just kind of came to my brain. We can talk about this.
Hi, friend. I have an exciting announcement. I hope you're enjoying this episode of Expert in You podcast, but I have to ask you, have you checked out the latest issue of Expert in You magazine yet? It's jam-packed with rich content, powerful strategies, inspiring stories, and so much more to help you elevate your business and personal growth. Don't miss out. Go grab your digital copy now and join our community of experts making a difference every day. Go to expertinyoumagazine.com and check out your digital copy today. Transform your expertise into success with Expert in You magazine. It's not just a publication, it is a movement.
I was in a Facebook group with, 25,000 people one day. And of course, people were talking about high ticket coaches. Okay. And how that greedy they think high ticket coaching is. And I said to them, to me, there's nothing more greedy than putting hundreds of thousands of people into some course and not helping them, because it's just money coming into your business, right? Like, to me, that's the epitome of what I would feel like is greedy. It's like, I don't really care if you get results, as long as I'm it's the same really mindset as the health clubs and the gyms, right? No, we're going to make our money off of the people that don't use the gym. We're going to make our money off of the people that, just pay us and don't use it. And there's a lot of that out there. I don't choose to do business like that.
$9.97 you can charge. You have 100,000 people. That's $1 million a month.
Yeah.
And you're helping 50 people. Make it a more premium at $99.95. You have 50, 100 people. Maybe you're not making enough that type of money. But if people can't live off 5,000-6,000 from a subscription, of course you got other things. So you got to look at the numbers, the income coming in. You're educating, you're serving, and you're getting value by getting abundance and getting paid.
Yeah. I think when we talk about it's not all about the money, this is a prime example of what we are talking about. I don't even have courses and stuff still after all these years in my business, because it's not where my heart is. My heart is truly serving people. Like, people can go buy my books, right? I guess that would be, if they want to read my book. But one of the things that I said early on is I don't want that kind of a business model, because I don't feel like I get to serve people in that way. Just because I know some stuff and I can put that into a course doesn't mean that lights me up. And so I think, not that you can't do that at some point, but I was just making the point about people, when you truly have a heart to serve, you want to do different things in your business than just create a course to get money.
It's all tied to serving. I mean, if you can make a course serving, that's great. And one of those ways would be 2 times a month education. Go over the course. Go, hey, here's the course. Let's
lots you
serve
do.
them. But they don't do it. They just go, hey, here's my course, pay me this amount a month. And
but also people aren't paying enough. So, if you have to guard your time, if you're leveraging your time, that's something we never get back. It's our most valuable resource. So if people aren't paying you enough, you really can't serve them. You can't, right? You'll burn out. It drains your energy. You can't serve people at the level that you would like when you're not getting paid enough to do it. I mean, it just won't. It's not sustainable. So, oh my gosh, we could talk about this all day. So, Steve, I think people genuinely, a lot of coaches, especially because I work with a lot of coaches, they really do have a heart to serve people. They don't go into this business thinking about the money. However, I want to speak to this because why does it have to be either or? And I do not believe it does. Why can't, and I always say, you build your wealth and then guess how much you can give back. When you build your wealth, when you have a healthy, wealthy business, you'll affect your family. You can give to organizations and charities. And this has always been my philosophy. It's not about giving the hand down when you can't afford yourself to give the hand down, because you can't stay in business that way. I would love to hear your thoughts on this.
That's how I'm living my life right now, Ann. The more abundance I get, the more people I can help. Maybe I'll do
That's right.
2 podcast workshops free a month. But now I can give to my church more. I can help people. I can spend more time with people, not worrying about I've got to build revenue.
Yeah.
It allows me to connect more people, to do what I love to do. Money's a necessary evil, but it shouldn't run your life. When you serve, you're just giving those gifts. Know that money will come. And again, like I said earlier, how, when, or when we don't. So when I think about money, all I think about is it's going to allow me to help more people. You said it just a little bit earlier. If you have that mindset, like the lady I talked to yesterday, like, I don't know if I want to charge hard prices. Yes, you do, because you're charging $10,000 a year and you get 100 clients. It's $1 million. What could you do with that $1 million to give back? I'm not saying all of it, but say it's 100,000.
It's not just about now. You've got a future that you need to plan for. We all get older. I mean, you've got to think ahead. Most people only think about now, and they don't think about, okay, do I want my kids to have to take care of me when I get into my old age because I'm flat broke, because I can't do this? But no. And so you have to expand your mindset. You know, one of my goals is to write $1 million check to a kids organization, because I have such a heart for kids. I do a lot of things around kids organizations and charities and things like that, but I haven't written the $1 million check yet. And that is something that is really near and dear to my heart. But I can't do that if I'm not showing up as my full self, my life isn't where it needs to be, right? And so it is a mindset shift for a lot of people. The thing is, it doesn't have to be either or. And I know you've heard this, I've heard this for many years. You've got to put the oxygen mask on yourself. Change your life, make sure your future, you can still give all along the way. Like you can be giving and tithing and all of those things all along the way. You don't have to wait until you get wealthy and then give. To me, that's the wrong approach. Give all along the way, but you still have to take care of your business, or you're not a business. You're not going to be a business. And then that means you are cut off from really helping more people. And it takes money to grow a business and operate a business. And so if you don't have the money to do that, how many people can you really impact? I mean, let's be real.
Can't. It's unfortunately, that's it is. There's software that costs, there's apps, there's
my podcast cost. Yours does, right? I've been paying for that thing for 4 years.
You know better than anybody. But just being smart with your revenue is what you're saying.
Yes.
And I love what you said. I tell people all the time, start serving. Like, I need money. Yes, you can. You go spend time in the soup kitchen for an hour.
Yeah.
Go call your best friend and say you're thinking about it. There's so many ways to serve, but you got to think outside the box and reach out to me. I'll give you 4 or 5. I can meet with somebody and go, hey, do this, this, and this. You're served.
Yeah. Well, you can even serve anyone online. For example, I help people do a lot on LinkedIn. You had mentioned LinkedIn earlier, so I'm going to bring that up. I could go look at somebody's profile and I could reach right out to them and say, hey, I was looking at your profile and I noticed a couple of things that you could tweak that would actually make your profile more influential. I'm not selling you anything, but would that be valuable for me to share those tips with you? Okay. That's serving, right? And you go in detached. Here's the other thing. Let's talk about this. You go in detaching from it turning into anything. That's the servant's heart. It's like great if they go, wow, and you know your stuff. I would like to talk to you. Do you work with people on this stuff? Yeah, I do. Right? I'd like to talk to you about that. But you go in not with that in mind.
I love it. And I'll tell you, the law of increase is what should be in your mindset every time you meet somebody. How are you going to increase how are you going to uplift them? It could be small, it could be large. It doesn't matter. Just find ways to uplift. And I did that with some engagements on LinkedIn. Somebody reached out and jumped on a call with me and said, I love what you're doing in your podcast. Are you helping people? Yeah, I'm a mentor. So next month, she's going to be my client because I didn't pitch her at all. She came to me because she saw the engagement of, you got all these podcasts. You kind of know what you're doing. You know what you're doing. That's the transformational, then transactional that you just did. And just think of the law of increase. Just think when you jump on a call, jump on anywhere you're meeting people, how can I increase them? And that's all I do. That's all my mindset when I jump in.
Yes, absolutely. So Steve, I know people are probably saying, okay, so we know Steve's a promoter, a super connector. He's got this amazing #1 podcast for small business marketing, but what does Steve sell? Let's ask here.
Yeah, and I thank you for asking. So I'm a podcast mentor. So I will show you how to do your podcast in little time, how to do it properly, or not properly, but how to do it so it can fit in your time schedule. I can get you guests. And the fourth thing is the money, less than $70 a month. And you can have the best lead generating, network building tool in the world. Are you an introvert? Great. You're the best podcaster in the world. And they go, why? Because here's what you do. You do the ask lot. You ask a question. You shut up. You listen. You ask another question. You're doing that today. You're adding to it. And as you get better at this, you're going to start adding your own comments like you're doing today so well. I just did a workshop yesterday and I told them that. Just start recording. Everything we start with, your health club, your weight loss program, my health club, my podcast, your podcast, we started at zero. Jeff Bezos started at zero with Amazon. You're going to get better and better and better. Two things. Make the decision you're going to keep doing it. And two, just keep doing it. The statistics are right now, 87% of podcasters stop after 20 episodes.
Oh gosh, I heard 10. So I heard even lower. It's like 10 episodes.
Oh, maybe it's changed. This is last year. Okay, see, that's why I love being on here. I get to learn. That's powerful.
You know, this kind of opens up another door.
Yeah,
I want to talk about, because my very first year. So one of the things I do is help people launch some sort of a live show or a podcast in their business to bring in high-end clients, because that's one of our marketing strategies or lead generation strategies. But you need a strategy behind what you're doing. And I guess you also help with that, Steve, because one thing that people don't do is they launch a podcast and they don't have they don't really know what their end goal is or what they're trying to accomplish with it. And it is sort of like, I just want to put value out into the world, but that makes it really hard to monetize or turn into anything for your business other than putting value out into the world. And so one of the things that I want to talk about is the strategy behind a podcast, because my very first year of my podcast, I didn't have a great strategy. And that was sort of my vision, is elevate my brand, put value out into the world. But it was a lot of money going out every single month because I had a team doing it for me, because I didn't have the time nor the desire to do that. And so it was money going out every single month, and I got zero the whole first year. But I said, I'm either going to figure out how to make this work for my business to grow my business, which is what I was really trying to do anyway, right? I was doing it to grow my business, or I'm going to cut it off. But I didn't give it a whole year. So then I took a step back and said, okay, what's wrong here? Like I always do. Okay, what's wrong here? I got to figure this out. So I wanted to bring this up because as you're helping people with your podcast, you've got an intention behind your podcast. There is an intention. It's helping you grow. It's helping you build. That is why you're doing all of this, not just for your health. I know we love connecting with people and talking to people and meeting people, but let's face it, there's other ways we could spend our time. So is this a piece of also what you do with people when you're helping them?
Yeah, I'm a partnership guy. So I have a number of partnerships that I've tied to. And I use the podcast as my process. And I use and a shout out to Josh Tapp. The system that I use that Josh
Mhm.
taught me back in October of 2022, first 10 minutes, get to know the person. If I don't
Mhm.
know them, if I know them, bring tons of energy. I'm excited about this podcast. Laugh and joke. When you start the podcast, it's natural to know you're going to be promoting them.
Mhm.
So they know in the back of their head, they're like, oh my God, Steve's promoting them because he's going to send out to thousands of people. But I
Yeah.
get to learn their desires, their passions, their challenges, their pain points. So then when you get down with the show, you go, and unbelievable show. You talked about this and this, point out a couple things. Right away, they go, God, Steve was listening. And then you go, I hear some of these things. I'm going to introduce you to these two people, Carden and Joe Smith. I think there's a partnership or something there for you. What are they going to do? Let's use that Christmas analogy or image. I just gave them gifts. What's their next question or next
Yeah.
comment? How can I support you, Steve? And I have many people go, my God, you've given me so many opportunities and gifts here. How can I support you? I go, well, I've got this opportunity. I've got this project. Do you know people here, people here? Doing this
Yeah.
philosophy, and I've had sponsors, and I'll have more sponsors on my podcast, but I don't go for that. I've
Right.
made hundreds of thousands of dollars doing this by partnering up
Yes.
and growing my partnerships
Yes.
with the podcast.
Yeah. No, and I can say the same. My podcast is such a powerful resource for me in my business, and it's such a powerful. The thing I love about it is it really kills a lot of birds with one stone. That's what I like to say. That's an old saying, but it actually does so many things. It builds your visibility, it builds your brand, it builds your credibility. You get to meet phenomenal people that you wouldn't otherwise have the door probably open to meet. It breaks down walls, it builds the know, like, and trust, and it turns into business when you have a great strategy behind it. It doesn't get any better.
No, and I'll add to this, and I'm going to be very controversial, but we're like sister and brother because I can, and not a bad thing. I used to run networking groups, 5 of them.
Mm-hmm.
I grew my business a little bit. It was okay. That's where growth is, and it'll grow your network a little bit. Your podcast is my new network and can be yours. So let's look at it. You go to a networking group, you see the same people all the time. Hey, I do this, I do this. Maybe there's some referrals go by. But now, like you just said, I bring in Ivan Meisner, founder of BNI, multiple $1 million. I get in his network.
Yes.
Lee Steinberg, sports agent for Patrick Mahomes, the top football player in the NFL. I'm in his network, or he's on my show. Those people do not show up in networking groups. They just don't. That's not a bad thing. It just is. But for me to scale now, like I've done, the podcast was the process that I did. And I'm no different than anybody else.
Yeah. No, it's so true. It definitely opens doors of opportunity, either working through people or being able to just invite people. And it's super, super powerful. Again, you have to go in and I just really want to make sure that people understand this. You still have to be genuine and sincere in what you do. And you can hope that you're strategic in what you're doing and you're intentional in what you do, but you also have to really detach from the outcome, right? And like for my podcast, I have people on my podcast that could be great partnerships. Like you, Steve, I put people on my podcast that could be potential clients. I put people on my podcast that, can open doors of opportunity, which is really what business is all about, those 3 things anyway, right? So if you're intentional and you have a great strategy behind it, all the great stuff happens along the way. It doesn't mean that you're not being sincere or genuine in what you're doing. It just means you have intention behind, again, you're trying to grow, right? You're trying to grow your business. So this has been such a fun conversation. I know people are going to want to know how they can get a hold of you. And by the way, my Expert in You magazine, I have asked Steve to do an article in my magazine. This is how it happens, everyone. I asked Steve, he didn't reach out to me and say, hey, Ann, I'd love to be a 4-page spread in your magazine. I just know the value he is bringing out there. And I want to give to him because he's doing so much for other people. And I want people to know Steve. And so I
just going to say, I've told that story since you've asked me to 5 or 6 people. And they're like, oh my God. I said, we've built this relationship. I call it sister brother relationships in business. where we can know I can get on a call, we'll talk for 30 minutes and something good will happen. I don't know what that's going to be, but having those people in your inner circle,
Yes.
abundance is going to come. I mean, I
Mhm.
just had a guy write another article about me in Authority magazine. He says, I love your story. Can I write an article?
Yeah,
Well,
I love it.
let's,
Actually, they just reached out to me to do an
I think
article.
it's the
And
same guy. I hope well, I'll find out if he did
oh, we'll
because I
have
was
to
telling him
compare
about you.
notes.
Yeah, definitely. But this is the power
Yeah.
because all this abundance we're talking
Mhm.
about, and let's bring it right back. It's the podcast. If I
Yes.
did not have a podcast, I wouldn't be sitting here today, be on your podcast.
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah.
power. Think about that. It's so powerful.
It is. Are we just not so blessed in the world today to have these kinds of tools? I mean,
Amen. Amen.
it's just unbelievable that anyone from their kitchen can fire up their laptop and go worldwide, be seen and known all over the world. I was on somebody's podcast one day, Steve, and he said, I have a celebrity on today. And I laughed. I mean, that just really took me back. But in our kind of our small circle or niche, because of all the things I do, that was his perception, which it made me laugh. But I thought, wow, we've never had this opportunity. And I had somebody on that I had a conversation with, and she said, we no longer, this is gold too. I mean, she's brilliant. She used to be in Hollywood. She was a producer and did all this stuff. And she said, we no longer have to ask Hollywood for permission to become a celebrity. Now, is
Wow.
that gold or what?
Oh, that's huge gold. I want to add one more thing about you said something that just lit me up. I got a message 10 weeks ago from a Joe who's a guest on my show in March of 2023. He sends me an email. Somebody listened to our show, reached out to him, and bought his $10,000 coaching program from a show that was 12 months or 13 months prior.
Wow, that's
So
amazing.
you can be serving people. I have 510 podcasts.
It's
I know
evergreen.
I'm serving people.
It's evergreen.
Sits
Yes.
forever. Yeah.
Yes.
So it's another way to serve.
Yes, 100%. And that is the thing. It's all out there. It's all out there forever. I think here's my biggest question to what you just said. What the heck are we going to do when we decide not to do this business anymore? And all that stuff is out there.
Yeah, that's a good point. As I say, you deal with it when it happens. And, maybe
we talk about the future. I haven't thought that far ahead.
Well, and right away, my servant, and this is my mindset, my servant heart goes, I'll find somebody else that does what I was doing. I'm retired and just refer them.
Yeah, except that all of our content, yeah, that's true. So people are still reaching out to us. That is so funny because I talk about, thinking ahead and looking at the future and all of that. And then I thought, wow, we're going to have all this content out there. I mean, it does get buried, but yes, it does come back up. Once people, it's just like a post on social media. You'll have a post that goes kind of dormant. Somebody finds it, they comment on it, and all of a sudden it's back up to the top of your feed. You're like, oh my gosh, where did this come from? Right. So it's super, that's just a funny thought.
Yeah. And I'll tell you another quick story. I had a guest on my show and just a normal guy. And we got done. We started talking. I did my flywheel. He has 55 podcasts. I'm like, you're amazing. First of all, how do you do it? Told me. But what he did was in 2018, he did a series of podcasts that were educational. He didn't interview anybody about how to hire the right VA. He gets 2 to 10 people a year buying his $10,000 program from that podcast 6 years later because it popped right back up, like you said.
Yeah. Interesting. Yeah, it is evergreen and that's the power of it as well. And it can be an extremely lucrative lead generation tool. Now, there are some other, you do have to, again, I just want to stress, you have to have a strategy behind what you're doing, or you're just putting stuff out there and it's not really going to go anywhere. But not to say that people wouldn't get value from it. I'm just saying if you're using it as a growth tool, which is what I do and what you do, you really do have to have intention and strategy behind it, because that's why people burn out and why they don't make any money from it or don't keep it going, which isn't helping anyone, by the way. If you start it and then you don't keep it up, how's that really helping? So when you do it right, it's super powerful. It can be one of your best things that you do in your business.
Absolutely.
And I just want to bring this up too, talking about a podcast, and we didn't discuss this tonight. Gosh, I know time flew. I'm telling you.
It was so fantastic.
If you are a speaker and you have a podcast online and you have a show online, you will get booked on more stages and things like that. And that's not something that we even talked about, but that is also a really important piece for people to know around a podcast.
Real quick, I know we're coming to the end here. I've never keynote speaked until November last year. Never been asked, never did. I spoke to 10,000 people about empathy and love and serving in business in South America. Since then, I've had 10 speaking opportunities already and more coming. All again, because the podcast, because your thought leader expertise gets shown. This podcast, what a full circle. They just know you're an expert in something.
Yeah. So good. There was a lot of gold in this show today. I hope everyone goes back and listens to it again. And Steve, how can people get a hold of you?
Jumped on LinkedIn, Steve Ramona, SteveRamona, or my digital business card, infone.co/podcast, inphone.co/podcast.
And we will put all of that in the show notes. So you'll be able to grab those links. And I have to tell you, he's just a super, super person to know. He's not just a super connector and promoter. He's a super person to know. So I'm super excited to have him in my magazine and just really value the relationship that we have built. And this has been a lot of fun, Steve. This was like a coffee meeting almost.
It was, but it's a perfect podcast because it was conversational and people learn some things.
The best kind. That's right. So, all right, everyone. Thank you. Make sure you share this episode with other people. Subscribe to the show. We're trying to get this podcast up to the top 1%. So we always appreciate when you share it, and I hope you find a lot of value in it. God bless you. Have an amazing day and go rock your business. Bye-bye.
God bless everybody.
Thank you for tuning in today. If you're as excited as I am about scaling up your influence, business, and bank account, then I have just the thing for you. But first, make sure you subscribe to the show. Second, make sure you share it with someone you care about, because sharing is caring. And third, head on over to join me in my next free virtual exclusive workshop, where we'll explore proven strategies to boost your business and maximize your potential. Look, it doesn't matter if you're just starting out or if you're looking to take your business to the next level, my workshops are designed for you. So head on over to expertinyouworkshop.com to reserve your spot and get ready to transform your expertise into extraordinary success. I'm looking forward to seeing you there and helping you achieve incredible growth. Until next time, make sure you're always seeking the expert in you, and God bless. Have an amazing day.